Hello, my beautiful friends and fellow seekers, and welcome to our Pisces full moon discussion. This is such a beautiful full moon, and I'm really excited to share that this is a moon of generosity, healing, warmth, optimism, clear-sightedness, and spiritual connection. And those are some great keywords, wouldn't you say? I am so excited to talk about this. The Virgo-Pisces axis, which will be getting lit up here with the sun at 28 degrees of Virgo and the moon at 28 degrees of Pisces, creating this opposition and this full moon. This axis is all about healing. It's all about how we connect to spirit. And in the Virgo case, it's how we take that spirit and funnel it through this system and into the world, into service, into our rituals, our routines, and how we show up and are present in the moment. Here we are. It's about that unification of spirit and body and a wholeness within ourselves. Piscean energy is about remembering, as much as we're walking around here in this world doing our things, that we have to come back home to this bigger oneness, to this bigger sense of connectedness and spiritual truth. And Piscean energy is going to take us into the ocean. It's like Mother Ocean energy. And help us reconnect to spirit and help us reconnect to our souls and remember how big it all is and how we have it within us and we are also connected to it. And this full moon is going to ask us anywhere where we are resistant to or blocking ourselves off from that deeply connected energy that Piscean energy wants to bring us full circle into. And I think to me, just alone, this opposition and this illumination of the full moon is an invitation to allow ourselves to come back home to our soul selves and to the bigger interconnectedness of the world. And I think the more we can have those moments of permission around that, the better, because our culture is going to keep telling us to focus on the shame and the guilt and the worry and the fear as the tools through which we will survive. And they have their place. We have feelings and reactions to things for a reason to help us gauge our place in this world. However, it's always good to come back home to that bigger energy. So right away we have that. Now this moon is also sitting in this beautiful context because Mercury in Libra is going to be trining Jupiter in Aquarius. And this trine is just beautiful. Mercury and Jupiter trining in these air signs are very happy here. This is where this generous, warm, good news sense of optimism comes into play for this full moon. So as we tap into kind of the big cosmic field, we tap back into the cosmic energy, we allow ourselves to be mostly soul, right? And we go to that place. This trine with Mercury and Jupiter is going to illuminate that generous, hopeful, beautiful, warm energy. It's very angelic energy going on here with that trine and just with this full moon in general. I really get the strong visual of that kind of angelic, warm energy holding us all. And it just feels good even to visualize that, regardless of how you visualize energy. Sometimes it's nice to just have like colors and feelings, and there's a real warmth to all of these conversations we have so far. There's one final aspect going on, which is that Mercury is also going to be squaring Pluto in Capricorn. And this square is about old limiting beliefs and belief patterns that are maybe holding us back from our transformation. And this is always helpful. I love a conversation like this because we all have belief patterns that are there with us and we work with them. Anybody who's been on a healing journey for a while knows that we revisit our belief patterns, especially the really ingrained old ones. We revisit them, we notice them, we converse with them, we release, and we do it again. And we come around and we notice and we release. And so anytime we get a chance to just take a moment and take a breath and notice where maybe we have gone back to a familiar belief pattern, even if we know it doesn't serve us, that Mercury-Pluto square really helps us to release. And that gets me to the keynote for this full moon, now that we've kind of covered the big aspects and the big energetic themes. There's going to be continued themes that follow up from the Virgo new moon around feeling worthiness and healing, and feeling like you can begin again, and letting go of the shame around maybe feeling disconnected for a while. But we're going to take it one step further here, because we're going to relax into our healing. Because the message that came up for me as I was thinking about this generous, optimistic, warm, healing, loving, big Mother Ocean energy that wants to hold us, wants to remind us of our spirit, wants us to remind us of our interconnectedness and the beautiful love that we share with everything and everybody, right? That interconnected web of life that is so beautiful and is so, it's beyond words. It's ineffable. One thing I want to say about this full moon as I was thinking about this is that so often we're working with mutable energy here. Virgo and Pisces, this is about energy that is shifting, changing, morphing, moving, modulating. So often when we're changing and we're growing, right, which we are definitely doing as a world and as individuals, we're doing it in huge ways right now. Growth is really powerful and potent at this time. We want to analyze it. We want to contain it. We want to be on top of it, especially if you're empathic, conscientious, and you like to do a deep, thorough job of your growth and your soulfulness. One of the things we can tend to do is start to really want to control and hold and understand and analyze our way through the change. And this full moon kept giving me this message that it's okay to put down that feeling like you need to control your growth and the growth of the world and the transformation of the world by giving yourself hard spiritual homework assignments, or constantly analyzing what's going on, or trying to hold it and contain all of your emotions, categorize them, all of that. This full moon is inviting us to put that pressure down. Put the pressure down to fix ourselves so that we fix the world, fix ourselves so that we fix every relationship we're in, fix ourselves so that things will hurt less, right? This full moon just says, don't worry about any of that. Not because we're going to get apathetic and we're never going to take action on things that matter, and that we're never going to reach a helping hand to somebody who is suffering, or, show up to the world's pains or to our own pains, right? Not to just say, oh, well, that's not where I'm going. Where I am going is that it's an illusion that in constantly doing the spiritual homework and almost boxing ourselves into this rigid, I have to understand this and make this right energy, we actually block ourselves from spiritual energy, because this is mothering energy in many ways. This is loving energy that wants to hold us. It's a moment of grace where we put down all of those trying to move through the emotions quickly, or make sense of it quickly, or make it right quickly. And we just compassionately witness ourselves as we move through it. We compassionately witness the different emotions we have. Every one of us is going to be at a different emotional space during this full moon. Some of us might be feeling a lot of sorrow, or a lot of joy, or a combo of the two, because that's often the way those two go together, or anger, or righteous anger, or worry, right? We could be feeling any of the range of emotions, any and all. Could be a day where you feel every single one of those. And rather than trying to get ahead of the game, get a leg up, make it right? Do your homework right, make use of this moon right. I want you to relax and just witness it, without worrying about what that's going to lead to, or what it inevitably means, or how the world is going to be just destroyed. And to stop trying to fix yourself and just relax into your changing self. Relax into the morphing of the world. Relax into the morphing of yourself. And give yourself that moment of grace to relax into it, even if it's taking you someplace that does fill your heart with sorrow or sadness. Even if it's taking you to some place where you feel confused or uncertain. That is okay, especially if you allow yourself to compassionately witness it. And the beautiful thing about this, and the beautiful thing about this full moon, is in that relaxation and kind of offering yourself up to the river, the ocean of life as it moves through you. you will see more clearly. You will be given the answers you're longing for. But only when we put down all of our arsenal of tools for a moment and allow Spirit to hold us a little bit. So often, I think we misunderstand a word like optimism to mean manic happiness or ecstatic joy. For me, a sense of generosity, optimism, openness, and grace is not limited to just a state of happiness, the way that our culture understands it. For me, joy, optimism, grace feels like allowing ourselves to feel all of our emotions without judgment, without categorization, and without trying to make it make sense really fast. There is this access that we gain in taking that pressure off that allows us to enter into Spirit and really connect with true joy. And it does seem counterintuitive. If I give in to my sorrow, if I let my body feel fully the emotion that I've been feeling trapped in my solar plexus or my heart or my shoulders for the last few months or the last year, won't that mean that I will just crumble into the ocean? And believe me, if you need support, please get support. In our modern culture, it's very easy to get isolated. I'm not having all of us sitting in our apartments giving into our despair, right? But what I am saying is it's okay to feel all of those emotions and allow that to take you into this state of grace and clarity. So let's pull a card for this. And like I said, this full moon is full of positivity. It's full of warmth. It's full of grace. It's full of interconnectedness. It's full of that spiritual energy. You know those days, you ever have a day, and they don't happen all the time, and even for me, who's sitting around doing this stuff constantly, you have those days where you can just feel that interconnectedness. You can feel the way everything's in conversation. You can feel the way that all this energy is talking all the time and having conversations and flowing and moving and modulating. That's what this full moon energy is very much like. It's being engaged with the playful banter and movement of the universe, and it's beautiful energy. But we can sometimes miss it when we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform and to be and to understand. 10 of Swords. Let's pull one card to follow that up. 10 of Swords, that card is just around right now. There's a lot of endings and beginnings, and I've even been talking, to a lot of I have like a few very close friends, and we've all been talking a lot, and each and every one of us is going through a huge ending and beginning right now in our lives, and they're all very different, and they have like different aspects. 2 of Swords. Okay. Swords energy abounds. And I know a lot of people are going through really big transitional, and it's not just like September, it's kind of this season, this chunk of 2021 of transformation. So we're here with the transformation cards here. This is so interesting to me because 10 of Swords is definitely about release and closing out. And as brutal as this card seems, and people who are feeling pain right now will say this is about being backstabbed and betrayed. But for me, 10 of Swords is about the end of something that isn't working anymore for you, right? Like when we keep inserting ourselves in a pattern of belief about something about our worthiness that we adopted at 7 years old, right? When we let it go, the pain releases a little bit, right? It's about releasing out of a painful dynamic, releasing out of a painful scenario that's played over and over and over again. It can no longer be played out. And sometimes that can scare us a little bit. When we don't get to play out the familiar scenarios, it's very scary. Well, what's going to happen next? But so often, the familiar isn't always what's best for us. Sometimes it is, but often because we love the familiar so much, we stay in things that can't serve us. So this 10 of Swords is speaking to that. And once again, this moon of grace of just compassionately witnessing ourselves allows us to enter into understanding about maybe where we are naturally feeling that shift and letting ourselves release a little bit. And right, like releasing emotion isn't about controlling it. It's not about containing it, putting in a container. It's about letting it flow out and moving on. And that was followed up by Two of Swords. And, you know, of course, with the Pisces full moon, we're not going to be getting like these really grounded practical review points, right? Because Piscean energy is all about the mystery of the universe. It is the grand mystery of the universe. It is about the ineffable, liquid, constantly moving, transforming movement of the world, and the universe and energy. I mean, these are big topics. Whenever you get with Piscean energy, it is going to be the big topics. And Two of Swords, I'm getting chills. Two of Swords is about not jumping to conclusions, not just judging something really quickly and grabbing onto it, but allowing yourself to sit in a place of unknowing. You know, there's a classic medieval text called The Cloud of Unknowing, and it's all about surrendering to an unknowing, rather than to our certainty, rather than to the intellectual certainty of something, right? But to the sense of unknowing that can hold us. And so these cards were pretty insistent today that we tap into that sense of unknowing and allow ourselves to simply be. And in allowing ourselves to simply be and allowing ourselves to be wherever we are on our paths during this full moon, during this season of shift, as we head toward Libra season, actually, we'll be very close to the equinox during this full moon, we'll hear our soul song so much more clearly, and we will receive the grace that we are each longing for. Because I can tell you right now, I've been walking around, the energy's been a little agitated. And when I take a moment to pause and just witness people walking by me, people driving by me, whatever, I see people who are longing for grace and peace and harmony. And we each have different relationship to those words and to those experiences, but every single one of us longs for that energetic quality to radiate out from us and to come toward us and hold us. We're all longing for it. So for those of us sitting here, those of you sitting here with me, thank you first of all for sitting here with me, but also let's create and really deliberately create those senses of peace and grace and love in ourselves. Let's sit in the unknowing so that we can cultivate from a soulful place that inner light that is so angelic and so loving and so based on actions that come from that love. This full moon really gives those of us who are longing for that an opportunity to sit with it, cultivate it, and listen for it. And I couldn't be more excited about that. To me, that's the best news that could ever come about. A full moon like this is so necessary, so needed, so wonderful. And I think in the wake of we had so many powerful moons the last few months that were getting lit up by like Uranus and Saturn and challenging us to change in these epic ways. And this full moon is like, let's sit in the unknowing and remember, no matter what's changing, we can come back to these core places of grace in ourselves. And we don't need to control the whole thing. We don't need to fix ourselves in order to fix every single thing that's going on in the world, but we are allowed to enter into peace and grace purely because that is healing and that is medicine, and it's worth it all on its own. I also want to mention, for those of you still here at the end of this chat, that you can find me on Instagram at Sarah Vrba, and I will leave the handle below. There have been some dupe accounts on Instagram, so you want to just follow the one that I put down here below and just keep an eye out if you are coming to join me, that's where you're going to want to go. You can also find me on Patreon. I do an activation for every single full and new moon, and we really get into it and really help ourselves into this energy a little bit more. Plus, we do weekly chats, and we're going to be doing a whole bunch of Mercury retrograde support just in the coming weeks, as well as Venus retrograde support, which is coming up later this year. So if you're interested in a beautiful community and getting a little more support from me, I would love to see you over there. And I'll leave all my links so you know where to find me, connect with me, work with me, what have you. I love you all so much. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out so I can keep showing up here. And I will see you all so soon for more magic ahead.